Hello guys, welcome to a new video on Tower of God New World, and in this video I'm going to give you my first impression on ALBELDA. She's a really great unit, and no dupes, she's already pretty good. And in this video I will also compare her to obviously Anniversary Iwa, Garam, and Mam Anak, because well with Mam Anak they share the same element and also a similar supporting kit, but not really that similar. And with Garam and Anniversary Iwa, they share the same role and ranking. So not ranking, but priority. So SSR plus. And yeah, I will say she's totally fine at zero dupes. She has above average survivability thanks to her passive, and the utility she provides is already quite good. Obviously, she gets better with dupes, as most units, and the things that scale in her kit are not insane, but there are some important things that do scale well. So it makes sense to get some dupes if you can afford it. Otherwise, zero dupes will work just fine. With Revolution 4 and 5 on SSR Plus supports, they tend to like give them really good things to push you to pull for them. And she's not exception. I would say she doesn't have a crazy upgrade, like for example an Anniversary Ewa that has a super universal invincibility on a Revolution 5. She just has a really niche improvement, which is great if you're trying to use like those kind of niche DPS units, and maybe in some scenarios also for some supports. We're going to talk more about that when we get to the Revolution part. But yeah, it's a lot more niche. But the base kit of ALBELDA is absolutely like universal. You can use her wherever you want. So if I have to compare with Mamanak, I will say she's probably less impactful than a Mamanak in terms of how hard she can carry, or like Mamanak can really make the units that rely on special moves shine due to how much energy she can provide, how much survivability she can provide. But she has a pretty big downside, and that is she's a close range unit. She's going to go in the middle of the fight, and her chances of dying are pretty high, which is a downside when you are like 280, 290, 300 deficit. I would say already at 250, you can feel that she dies at times, but still tolerable. At 300, I'm pretty sure she's going to explode. I just tried her at, well, she was at 270-ish, like deficit, and she still died. Like depends on the fight, but she can die at times, and that's annoying, especially because once she's dead, all the buffs that your DPS was getting are just gone. That issue is not as like you don't feel this kind of problem with Albelda thanks to her passive, because she cannot be targeted as long as there is an ally alive. So that's pretty awesome. At zero dupes, at the deficit I was mentioning before, she can still die because she doesn't have really high resistances. It's true she cannot be targeted, but she can still be hit by AoE attacks, and that's a pain, I'd say. So yeah, from my point of view, Albelda doesn't boost a specific niche of characters as strongly as a Mamanak, but she can just be used wherever you want. I don't think there is a single DPS unit that wouldn't want support from Albelda. Like her buffing from the passive and special move is really good. Her survivability boosting is really, really good. And also the increase in swiftness and the debuffs on the enemies are pretty nice. So overall, what she provides and what she brings to the table is absolutely valuable. At zero dupes, she can already do that fine. I won't say she doesn't get better. Like if you can get her a 3 red, obviously she's going to be better than a zero dupes one. But I won't say that changes your playstyle that much, or you won't feel the impact that much. she will still bring a lot of value at zero dupes. And yeah, that's just my first overview. If you don't have a lot of resources to spare, it would be safe to wait at zero dupes. You are not going to miss out as much as an anniversary EVA, for example, if you don't get her to Rainbow 5. It's not that big of a jump. There is a clear upgrade, but it's not as big, if that makes sense. Okay. Now let's just read the skills, and then we can also see the exclusive equipment and what she has in Revolution. And then maybe we can also talk about some teams and stuff like that. So the passive is interesting, and I'm also going to mention something about positioning. At the start of the battle, Albelda applies Power of Spirits to the nearest ally that isn't a summoned being and increases their attack and defense by 100% of their attack and defense. This buff cannot be removed with buff removal skills. If the ally dies, she finds another nearest ally and applies them the Power of Spirits, etc. Albelda becomes immune to status effects while applying the Power of Spirits, so it's only during the cast of the skill, not permanently. Is not like she's not permanently immune to status effects while there is an ally buffed by that. Is only during the cast time, so she's not immune to status effects. In addition, Albelda cannot be targeted until all allies are dead, but she also cannot use skills if there is no ally with Power of Spirits. But I mean, if she's the only one in the fight, you already lost. So it's no big deal. The last part, it's pretty obvious. But these Albedo cannot be targeted until all allies are dead is pretty awesome. Like this is what increases her survivability like crazy, and you can use her a lot more easily than a Mamanak at high deficits. Again, zero dupes, she will still die. You kind of want more like investment in general, so that she has higher stats and more chances of surviving, but still fine, I would say. So pretty good passive. She has a really good buff here. The weird thing with the passive is that this is a level 5 stat, so it's 100% at level 5, but it's 20% at level 1, which is absolutely strange because they usually double the amount from level 1 to 5. This time is 5 times the amount. Really strange, but I will say that together with the special move is not that, it is a big difference, but it's not too impactful. And yeah, pretty cool. Pretty cool passive, not much to say other than that. Then we have Sword of Protection. Albilda summons swords for herself and allies with the Power of Spirits. I don't know why they keep on using the plural, is always single target skill, which block all enemy attacks 5 times. Pretty amazing. Then we have Sword of Protection lasts for 8 seconds, should be 3 seconds at level 1, which is pretty short. Or maybe is it 4? Maybe it's 4. But yeah, not that long. And this appears when the number of blocks is used up. Pretty cool active skill. Doesn't do much other than this. We will see an upgrade with the exclusive equipment, but pretty simple. Then we have Festering Resentment, and she's going to deal 300% of her attack as damage at level 1, 600 at level 5, near the enemy closest to an ally. So is closest is not close to an ally. So if the ally is ranged, this ability is still useful. So yeah, you don't have to care whether the ally is close range, ranged, doesn't matter. It will work. It's just maybe harder to pick who is going to be targeted by this, but it's fine. It's okay. And then he's going to lock them for 4 seconds, so some okay ground control. He's then going to decrease the attack and defense of the target by 80% for 8 seconds. This is a level 5, 40% level 1. Still pretty nice debuff, even at level 1. Then we have Hopeful Decision. This is Albelda enhances Power of Spirits applied to allies to additionally enhance Power of Spirits stat boost by 200%. So this is 100% at level 1, and this is additional. So you have a 20% at level 1 here, and this is going to be an additional 100, making it 120. Now at level 5, it would be 100 plus 200, that's 300. Why they didn't make the passive 50 at level 1, I have no idea. That would have been exactly half. I have no idea what they even think, but that's kind of how it works. I tried to figure this out in Arena Simulation yesterday, and that seems to be the case. Initially, I thought it was like 100% increase on the passive value, which would have been from 20% to 40% at level 1, or if you add or like green one from 40% to 80%, but that's not the case. So, or no, wait, it was from 20% to 6%, and then from 40 to 120, something like that. That's not the case. Okay, that's wrong. That would have been with 200. The first thing I said was correct. The second one was wrong. But okay, so it's additive, pretty cool. These are really nice buff already at level 1. 120% of Albelda's attack and defense is pretty nice, and she will, on average, have more than 1/3 of the DPS attack. Like in my case, my Evankel, for example, had 6 billion attack, and she had 2.5 billion attack, like Albelda, and no dupes, which is like a bit less than half of Evankel's attack. Giving her 120% is like a 50% attack buff or something like that. Not bad at all, I would say. And she's also going to remove all debuffs and status effects from the target and grants them invincibility for 3 seconds. Abel is immune to status effects while using the skill. Okay, so really good special move. Simple, nothing strange. 10-second attack and defense increase, and there is also the invincibility and buff and debuff removal. So overall, really valuable stuff. Now, if we look at the exclusive equipment, we will see she gets physical resistance. That's good. I always like when I see physical resistance in here, so definitely appreciated. Level 1 is already pretty interesting. There is a swiftness debuff on top of the attack and defense debuff that she already has in this festering resentment. So really good. Not much to say here. ALBELDA heals the target's ally HP by 10% every second while Sword of Protection skill is active. Now, this is not as important from my point of view. This is an okay heal, but it won't matter that much. Still is nice. Level 3, ALBELDA recovers 500 energy each time an ally with Power of Spirits defeats an enemy. This is pretty cool if you're linking to DPS, which you want to do 99% of the times. There might be exception, but I would see those exception more on like bossing and Revolution 5, I would say 99% of the times you will link to a DPS. So that's good because your DPS is supposed to kill the enemies and provide her with energy, which in turns provides some better buffs to your DPS. Level 4 is ALBELDA increases the target's swiftness by 50 for 10 seconds when using Awful Decision. This buff cannot be removed with buff removal skills. Pretty nice to have a 50 swiftness buff on the special move that's already providing the additional stat increase. So not bad at all. I really like this exclusive equipment. I think they didn't add anything useless here, and this level 4 is definitely a really good improvement for a lot of units. There are very few units that wouldn't like an additional 50 swiftness. So really, really good overall. I will say, well, I will just briefly mention gear and ignition weapon. For gear, you kind of only care about slot 4, so the one that provides magic and physical resistance. And for the ignition weapons, I only tried her with Runda and with Rafflesia. I would say she works fine with both of them. You can just use whichever set you're running on support, be it Runda, Doris, or Rafflesia. Everything is good. I would probably lean more towards Rafflesia due to the fact that she can still be hit by AoE attacks, and some AoE attacks will have status effects attached to them. She's not immune to status effects, so Rafflesia could be pretty helpful to protect her from those occasional CCs that she might receive, and also provide her more energy in turn. But anything works really. Then we have Revolution, And this is the codex version, so I didn't upgrade all the subnodes. Just be aware of that. I will say slot one is obviously nice because her buffs are based on her own stats, so having more attack is beneficial. We don't care about obviously the evasion subnode. HP doesn't matter because she's not really relying on it for buffing. She only buffs attack and defense. Effect resistance, amazing. I would always try to get at least 10 points in that one for most units that have it as a subnode. Then we have defense percentage, actually pretty good on her at this point because she's buffing the DPS defense based on her own, so pretty cool. Crit damage reduction pretty much useless. Now we are at Revolution 4, which is like Orange 4 basically. And this, from my point of view, is probably one of the better upgrades she has. I like Revolution 4 more than I do with Revolution 5. And this is Albelda summons a sword of protection on the ally. She applies power of spirits 2, then restores their energy by 200. Being that she's applying power of spirits right at the start of the battle, this is a sword of protection at the start of the battle, which is the one that blocks the enemy attacks. Extremely useful to block Ryana units. Really, really good. And also the 200 energy increase is super important. In PvP, if you have a maxed out Traum Ray and you're facing a maxed out Traum Ray, if you have Albelda and the opponent doesn't, your Traum Ray should almost always cast the special move first, which is insane because it's going to start with 900 energy uh, thanks to this Revolution 4. Otherwise, it would just be a 700 energy for a Rainbow 5 Trauma Ray. So I really see a lot of benefits from this, and just in general, also in Adventure. There are times where you really want a unit to cast their special move first, like before the enemy can even do anything, and that's when you want to link them to a Revolution 4 Albedo. So when you have Revolution 4, there might already be times where you might link Albelda to a support instead. If you really want to, I would probably not recommend it that much, but could be a possibility. I still link it to a support. Subnodes, not relevant, neither of them, I'd say. Revolution 5, this is interesting. So invincibility duration of the special move increases by 1 second, so from 3 to 4, and decreases the target's active skill cooldowns by 20 seconds. This is pretty much the same as a skill reset. So your DPS units will have their active skill cooldown reset because most cooldowns are 20 seconds. Some of them are 30. But if it's a DPS we're talking about, that DPS will likely, if they care about active skills, will likely have the subnode with the max cooldown reduction maxed, which is a 30% reduction. If it's a 30-second skill, it's going to go down to 20 plus they have swiftness, so the cooldown is still lower. So yeah, this is effectively a reset every time Albelda casts the special move. The ally will have their own active skills refreshed, which is great on some units and totally irrelevant on others, slash almost like detrimental, but I tried her with Evankel. But Evankel is an example of one of those units that doesn't really want to use active skills. Actually, if there was an option to say, do never cast basic attacks and active skills, she would be a lot stronger than she is. At least mine, because mine is stupid. Like after the first special move, even if she has enough energy, at times she just randomly throws a basic attack, which makes no sense. She could have just chained the special move and be invincible, but mine is just stupid. Uh, that doesn't seem to happen with active skills, which is nice. Otherwise, this would have been detrimental in using Albelda and Evankel together, because at that point your Evankel would just die for no reason. So yeah, I'd say pretty good Revolution 5, even though there is not much she can do with this one. She can basically bring Viol back from the dead. Like Viol is a unit that doesn't really have a lot of use cases at higher deficit. But Albelda made it so, Revolution 5 Albelda made it so my Viol could still do something at 270 deficit, more like 260 for him. But yeah, 260 deficit and still be able to deal enough damage. Because the reset on the bang skill for Viol is massive. Like this allowed him to deal a shit ton of damage. Really a lot of damage. I I really like their synergy and I kind of expected it to happen because Bomb slash Viol is the only unit in the manhwa that was ever buffed by Albelda, so that kind of makes sense that they have a good synergy. I will say this is a bit too much of a synergy. Still, I feel like Albelda works better on a unit like Arcraptor at the moment. Not that Arcraptor is relying a lot on the like active skills, but it does have some good ones. So yeah, I would say the attack buff from her probably more beneficial to him or stuff like that. Like I had better results with Arcraptor. She buffs Viol more, but Arcraptor is still more solid from what I could see. But I didn't play that much, so don't take my word for it. Don't worry. They will be buffing Viol, and I think in a video that's going to come up soon, I'm going to go over the live Q&A because we got the official post, so we're going to look at it. And they basically mentioned that Viol is going to get a buff in his Revolution. So yeah, we can look forward to it, and I think together with the Revolution 5 Albelda, not she, sorry, Viol can actually be pretty good. For now, kind of niche. Some other units that could benefit are, for example, Irang. Irang also relies on the Petal Torrent to deal damage, which is an active skills, and definitely a good combo there as well. Only if you have, again, a Revolution 5, well, not necessarily, yeah, Revolution 5, let's say, um, Irang, that works. Ren also kind of works, even though she's not buffing the bull, but the active skills of Ren are quite okay. There is one that deals a lot of damage, and the other one can just heal the bull a bit more frequently in case the bull needs it. Though not the worst. There are some good units that can have their like value from the skill reset. Not that many, which is why I said this is a bit niche, but still solid. And if more units in the future come up with really good active skills, she will definitely be extremely relevant and important. That being said, for now, Revolution 5 is not something that people should really aim for. And there is one thing here. Revolution 5 has the attack subnode. This is extremely important for her. So yeah, keep that in mind. This is a really good increase in her buffing capabilities. And then we have Revolution 6. I will say that max cooldown reduction is definitely nice to have an higher uptime on the debuff on the enemy and just the sort of protection uptime. Really cool, not as mandatory as maybe the attack subnode, but yes, definitely a really nice node to have. The other ones that I didn't even mention are just kind of irrelevant. So yeah, that's pretty much all in terms of the revolution. And talking about units to pair with, there are not many things to mention. As I said before, she really works with anyone. So if you have an Albilda and you have a DPS, it's fine. The thing is, position-wise, that I kind of forgot to mention here when I read the that she applies power of spirits to the nearest ally. This is always on the same row if there is an ally on the same row. That's the first criteria. So if there is an ally on the same row, it will always be one of them. So if you're in the back line, it's always going to be the other guy in the back line. If it's in the front line, top left is always going to buff the one in the middle. Top right is always going to buff the one in the middle. If you are in the middle, at first, like the first 15 to 20 times that I tried, it was always buffing the one on the right. But after a while, it kind of became random and I couldn't really find the pattern to say which one of the two is buffing. So I'm guessing it's RNG, even though the fact that it went to the right every single time, even when I was swapping units, was kind of crazy. But it seems to be random. I have no confirmation. Though I will say I wouldn't recommend putting her in the middle to begin with because she cannot be targeted. And if you open up your middle position, enemies might have a chance to go right through to your backline unless you have two frontline units on the two sides. In which case, it would be fine to have her in the middle, but you lose control on which unit she's going to buff. That's the only other thing I wanted to mention. So yeah, in terms of utility and how widely she can be used, absolutely amazing. One of the best units in terms of team compatibility. And I would say pretty much like an anniversary Iwa. You can just plug her there, whichever team you want, just put her right next to the DPS unit, and you're good. It's going to provide a really insane damage increase. So yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to mention for my first impression. I will try her a bit more. I will try her with lower levels of investment. I will try the trial version with fully maxed nodes almost, and she's amazing. Don't get me wrong, but she will work fine at zero dupes. I already tested that a little bit during the live stream, and I think I got a clear idea of how good she is. She could already help like a Jinsung deal really relevant damage. So I'm quite happy with her. I think she works fine with really a lot of DPS units. And she only gets better with dupes, but you shouldn't feel forced to get her, especially up to Rainbow 5 if you don't have the need to use a unit like E-Rang as a DPS. And even if you need to use a E-Rang as a DPS, like there are other teams where you can use her. You don't really need ALBELDA to make her a solo DPS unit, whatever. It does work well. Not gonna lie, it does work extremely well, but I don't know. I feel like it's too much of an investment for just that particular use case. If you only have Viol and you really like Viol and you're trusting that Marble is going to do a good job at buffing him, then she will be a worthwhile investment because she will make Viol a lot better regardless. Like even if they buff him and is good base, she's going to make him 5, 10 times as good. So that's one of the best synergies that we currently have for our builder. And we'll see if future units or if just by testing her a bit with some other DPS, I find out additional ones. But yeah, that's pretty much all. Let me know your thoughts on this unit in the comments down below. If you have any questions, again, feel free to ask them. And if you like the video, please drop a like and subscribe to my channel. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.